9 bodies in a Mexican morgue finale. Who is the killer? 9 bodies in a Mexican morgue, April 6th, 2025. 9 bodies in a Mexican morgue. Photo, MGM+. Watch now. Surface. On Apple TV+. We knew entering the 9 bodies in a Mexican morgue finale that we would get a lot of answers. But did they all make sense? Well, let's kick things off here by noting that if you thought that Kevin was responsible for the deaths out in the jungle, you are correct. However, let's just say that there were a lot of twists that more or less existed all around this. Where do we start here? Well, let's just say that Eric McCormack's character was hardly who he presented himself to be. Instead, he was the architect alongside Cora of an elaborate drug scheme, one that did go terribly awry. When a plane crashed, he ended up killing the bodies and storing the drugs within the corpses of the deceased. Hence, the reason why the morgue was so important on the show. He faked his own death and then swapped bodies with Dan in order to ensure that he remained undetected. That was one of the big twists. What was another? Well, that he had another victim in Cora after eventually making it out, and he poisoned her using the mushrooms from the wilderness. After all, he figured out that she had a secret relationship with the pilot Octavio from the events of the premiere. Almost everything was connected, but there was one problem here that Kevin was not aware of. Zach was actually able to survive, even if that did not seem possible at one point. He eventually was rescued, and from there, was able to track Kevin in just enough time to shoot at his plane. He hit the fuel tank, which meant that in the finale minutes of 9 bodies in a Mexican morgue, Kevin found himself descending back into the same jungle where all this started. Presumably, he is dead, though the screen cuts to black before we can say anything for certain. What did you think about the events of the 9 bodies in a Mexican morgue finale overall? Share right now in the attached comments. Once you do just that, remember to come back to get some other update.